What your thoughts really are, and why it matters. Buddhist insight. Have you ever noticed something strange? A single thought, just a few words in your head, can ruin your entire day. Someone said something. You replay it, and suddenly you feel angry, or sad, or anxious. Not because anything is happening right now, but because of a thought. We all know this experience, and yet, we rarely stop to ask, why does a thought have so much power over us? The answer is simpler than you might expect. We suffer not because we have thoughts. We suffer because we become our thoughts. When a thought arises, I am not good enough, we do not see it as a thought. We see it as the truth. There is no gap between the thought and ourselves. We are completely inside it. And from that place, there is no freedom. The Buddha called this Sakkaya Ditthi, the view that mistakes mental and physical experiences for I and mine. When we believe we are our thoughts, we are caught in this view, and suffering follows naturally. This was true 2,600 years ago. It may be even more true today. We live surrounded by noise, notifications, emails, news that never stops, social media that invites us to compare our lives with others. The mind was never designed for this. And so it spins, it worries, it compares, it replays conversations from years ago. It rehearses arguments that may never happen. At 2 a.m., when the world is quiet, the mind is often at its loudest. Psychologists have a word for this: rumination. The tendency to replay the same thoughts over and over, especially negative ones. Research shows it is one of the strongest predictors of anxiety and depression. But this is not a modern disease. The Buddha saw it clearly, long before anyone measured it in a lab. In the Madhupindika Sutta, he described a specific kind of mental activity called papanka. This word is often translated as mental proliferation, but that does not quite capture its meaning. Papancha is not simply thinking a lot. It is thinking that has been taken over by craving, conceit, and wrong views. It is the mind spinning stories about how things should be, about how we deserve more, about how someone wronged us, about how we must protect our image at all costs. You may recognize this pattern. Someone makes a small comment, and before you know it, your mind has built an entire world around it. You imagine their hidden motives. You rehearse the perfect comeback you should have said. You feel the anger rising, even though the conversation ended hours ago. An hour passes, and you have been nowhere but inside your own head. This is papanka at work. Not every automatic thought falls into this category. But when thoughts are driven by attachment and delusion, when they loop endlessly, and we cannot stop them, that is the territory the Buddha warned us about. And here is what makes this so painful. When we are caught in this cycle, we lose the power to choose. Without mindfulness, we do not even see the thought arising. We are simply carried away. A thought appears, we react automatically, and that reaction leads to words or actions that create consequences. Those consequences trigger more thoughts, more reactions, more suffering. Round and round it goes. This pattern mirrors what the Buddha called dependent origination, the chain of conditions that keep suffering in motion. Contact leads to feeling. Feeling leads to craving. Craving leads to clinging. Clinging leads to becoming. In the context of our inner life, we might say, a thought arises, we identify with it, we grasp at it or push it away, and that grasping creates the next wave of pain. Some teachers describe this as samsara happening moment to moment. In the traditional sense, samsara refers to the cycle of birth and death across lifetimes. But there is also a samsara of the mind, a cycle of suffering that spins in every moment we are lost in unconscious reaction. We do not need to wait for the next life to experience it. It is happening now. In every moment we are swept away by thoughts we never chose. So this is where we begin, with an honest look at the problem. Not to create despair, but to create clarity. Because once we see the prison clearly, we can begin to find the door. If the problem is that we become our thoughts, then the solution must involve some way of not becoming them. But what does that actually mean? And how is it possible? The Buddha gave very precise instructions on this. In the Satipatthana Sutta, one of the most important teachings on meditation, he described 4 foundations of mindfulness. The third foundation is called Cittanupassana, which means observing the mind, or contemplating consciousness. The teaching is expressed this way. When the mind has greed, one knows clearly, the mind has greed. When the mind is without greed, one knows, the mind is without greed. When the mind has hatred, one knows, the mind has hatred. Notice the language carefully. The text does not say, I am greedy, or I am angry. It says, the mind has greed, the mind has hatred. This is not just a grammatical difference. It is the difference between being lost inside an experience and observing it from a place of awareness. When you say, I am angry, there is no space. You and the anger are one. But when you recognize the mind has anger, something shifts. There is the anger, and there is the knowing of the anger. 2 things, not one. In that gap, that tiny space of awareness, freedom begins. This is the key to breaking the identification we spoke of earlier, the way we become our thoughts. It can be broken, not by force, not by suppression, but by a simple and profound shift, seeing what is happening clearly as it happens. This is seeing mind as mind, not as me or mine. But the Buddha went further. He taught that when we observe mental phenomena carefully, we begin to see their true nature. All conditioned things, including thoughts, share 3 characteristics, known as the tilakkhana. The first is impermanence, anicca. Every thought that arises will pass away. This seems obvious when stated, but we rarely live as if it were true. When a painful thought grips us, it feels permanent. It feels like it will never end. But if you sit quietly and watch, you will see, no thought lasts. Even the most persistent worry, if you do not feed it, will dissolve. It has no choice. That is its nature. The second is dukkha, often translated as suffering or unsatisfactoriness. Here the teaching is subtle. The Buddha did not say that thoughts themselves are suffering. He pointed out that clinging to what is impermanent leads to suffering. When we grasp at a pleasant thought, trying to hold it, we suffer because it slips away. When we push against an unpleasant thought, trying to escape it, we suffer because resistance is exhausting. The thought is not the problem. The grasping is. The third is non-self, anatta. This is perhaps the most radical insight. We assume there is a thinker behind our thoughts, a little person inside the head who produces ideas and watches them go by. But when we look carefully, we cannot find this thinker. Thoughts arise from conditions, from memory, from perception, from bodily states, from past experiences. They arise the way weather arises. through countless causes coming together. There is no one doing the thinking. There is just thinking, happening. These three insights, impermanence, suffering through clinging, and non-self, are not beliefs to be accepted on faith. They are invitations to look for yourself. Sit quietly. Watch a thought arise. See if you can find where it comes from. See if you can make it stay. See if you can locate the you who is supposedly thinking it. There is a famous teaching that captures this perfectly. In the Bahia Sutta, recorded in the Udana, a wanderer named Bahia came to the Buddha, desperate for the essence of the teaching. The instruction he received was this: in the seen, there is only the seen. In the heard, there is only the heard. In the sensed, there is only the sensed. In the cognized, there is only the cognized. Thoughts belong to the cognized. They are mental objects appearing in awareness. When you truly see a thought as just a thought, not as truth, not as self, not as command, something remarkable happens. The thought loses its power. It is still there, but it no longer controls you. It is like the difference between being caught in a dream and knowing you are dreaming. The content may be the same, but your relationship to it has utterly changed. This is the insight, not a concept to understand, but a way of seeing to be practiced. If you have followed the teaching so far, a question may be forming in your mind. It is a question many people ask, and it is important enough that we must address it directly. The question is this: if we are supposed to just observe thoughts and let them pass, what about the thoughts that actually matter? What about planning for the future, solving problems at work, taking care of responsibilities? Are those useless too? Should we just watch them float by and do nothing? This is one of the most common misunderstandings about Buddhist meditation, especially in the modern mindfulness movement. People hear "observe your thoughts" and conclude that Buddhism teaches a kind of mental passivity, sitting like a stone while life happens around you. But this is not what the Buddha taught. Not even close. Consider this: the Noble Eightfold Path, the Buddha's core prescription for ending suffering, includes a factor called samma sankappa, right intention or right thought. This is the second factor of the path, placed right after right view. If all thinking were meant to be abandoned, why would right thinking be included as an essential step toward liberation? Right intention has three aspects: the intention of renunciation, the intention of goodwill, and the intention of harmlessness. These are not passive states. They are active orientations of the mind, ways of thinking that lead toward freedom and away from suffering. The teaching is not stop thinking. The teaching is think in ways that are wholesome, that reduce suffering for yourself and others. There is more evidence. The Buddha also taught the four right efforts, known as samappadhana. These are: to prevent unwholesome states from arising, to abandon unwholesome states that have already arisen, to develop wholesome states that have not yet arisen, to maintain and strengthen wholesome states that are already present. Read that again. This is not a teaching about sitting back and watching. This is a teaching about active, intentional effort. It requires discernment, knowing what is wholesome and what is not. It requires energy, actually doing something about what you see. It requires persistence, continuing the effort over time. The Buddha himself was a thinker. He observed the capacities of the people he taught and tailored his message to each person. He organized the Sangha, the community of monks and nuns. He answered complex philosophical questions with precision and depth. He deliberated, planned, and made decisions. If thinking were inherently a problem, the Buddha would have been the most confused person in India. So, what is really going on here? Why the emphasis on observation, if not for passivity? The answer lies in understanding the difference between mindfulness and heedlessness. In the Pali scriptures, mindfulness, sati, is always accompanied by clear comprehension, sampajanya. This is the wisdom to see clearly what is happening and to know whether it is wholesome or unwholesome. Mindfulness without this discernment is incomplete. If someone merely watches their mind in a dull, unfocused way, without clarity, without wisdom, without any intention to cultivate the good and abandon the harmful, that is not true mindfulness. That is what the Buddha called pamada, often translated as heedlessness or negligence. It is a kind of mental laziness disguised as spiritual practice. The Buddha took this so seriously that his final words, recorded in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, were a warning against it. As he lay dying, surrounded by his disciples, these were his final words: Vyadhamma sankhara, apamadena sampadetha. All conditioned things are subject to decay. Accomplish your goal with diligence. The key word here is apamada, diligence, earnestness, the opposite of heedlessness. The final instruction was not sit and watch. It was strive. It was do not be negligent. It was make the effort. This changes everything. The teaching on observing thoughts is not an invitation to become passive. It is a tool, perhaps the most powerful tool, for gaining the clarity you need to act wisely. You observe so that you can see clearly. You see clearly so that you can choose rightly. You choose rightly so that you can live a life that leads toward freedom, not toward more suffering. Passivity is not the goal. Wisdom in action is the goal. So we arrive at the practical question: what do we actually do? How do we take these teachings off the meditation cushion and into the texture of daily life? Let us begin with a simple shift. When a thought arises, any thought, instead of asking, "How do I make this go away?" try asking a different question. Is this thought wholesome or unwholesome? This question comes directly from the four right efforts. It is not a theoretical exercise. It is a practical tool you can use in any moment. The four right efforts applied to each specific thought as it arises. If the thought is unwholesome, if it is driven by greed, by hatred, by delusion, then the instruction is clear. Recognize it. Do not feed it, and let it fade on its own. You do not need to fight it. You do not need to argue with it. You simply see it for what it is. Withdraw your attention and allow it to pass. This is where the practice of observation becomes powerful. By seeing the thought clearly, you break the automatic chain of reaction. You create space. But if the thought is wholesome, if it is rooted in generosity, in kindness, in wisdom, then the instruction is different. Do not let it pass. Reflect on it. Develop it. Act on it. A thought to help someone. A plan to solve a problem with integrity. An intention to speak truthfully. These are not distractions from the spiritual path. They are the path. The practice is not about emptying the mind. It is about cultivating a wise mind. There is an image that may help here. Think of a carpenter and his hammer. The hammer is a tool. It is neither good nor bad. When the carpenter needs to drive a nail, he picks up the hammer and uses it skillfully. When the work is done, He sets the hammer down and walks away. Now imagine a carpenter who cannot set the hammer down. He eats dinner with the hammer in his hand. He tries to sleep, but his fingers are still wrapped around the handle. He hugs his children while clutching this tool he no longer needs. That carpenter has a problem, not with the hammer, but with his relationship to it. Our thoughts are like this. Thinking is a tool. When you need to plan fully and clearly. When you need to solve a problem, engage with it wholeheartedly. But when the thinking is done, when you are resting, when you are with loved ones, when you are simply being, can you set the tool down? Can you stop? This is the real question. Who is in control? Are you using your thoughts, or are your thoughts using you? True freedom is not the absence of thought. True freedom is the ability to think when thinking is needed, and to be still when stillness is needed. It is mastery, not suppression. Now there is one more distinction that helps make this practical. The Buddha did not teach passivity, but the way we apply his teachings differs depending on context. Here is what that looks like in daily life. In formal meditation practice, when you are sitting on the cushion, specifically training the mind, the primary instruction is to observe. Thoughts will arise, emotions will arise, sensations will arise. Your job is to see them clearly without getting pulled in, without reacting automatically. This is training. You are building the muscle of awareness, the capacity to see without being swept away. This training has a purpose. It prepares you for life. In daily life, you take that capacity and put it to work. You still observe, you still maintain awareness of what is happening in your mind, but now you also engage. You make decisions. You speak and act. The difference is that now you are acting from clarity, not from confusion. You see the thought, you assess whether it is wholesome, and then you choose your response. Mindfulness becomes the foundation for wise action. There is a phrase worth remembering. Do not cling to what should be released. Do not release what should be cultivated. This is the balance. The letting go is real. You must release the unwholesome, the obsessive, the driven by delusion. But the cultivation is equally real. You must nurture the wholesome, the kind, the wise. The Buddha did not teach escape from life. He taught a way of living that is awake, responsive, and free.